my father committed a crime. Maybe. Probably not, but it's borderline. He bought me one of those 500 games in one machines. You know, the poorly made cheap plastic made to look like an NES that only just has the ability to play bootleg versions of old games. 80% of them don't work, you can't save anything, and all the ones that do work feel like someone played Mario once while on acid and decided to remake the game from their drug-infused memory. Basically, the idea is far greater than the reality, and you have an hour or two of frustrating fun before it's time to put it away so it can gather dust. So, one beautiful day, my best mate came round with his parents. The adults stayed downstairs having fun, watching the footy and keeping their sanity in place, while I decided it was time to bring this bad boy out. My friend's response to that was, "No, God!" And so it began. We played a bunch of random games for a maximum of 2 minutes at a time. I briefly remember a tennis game with controls that made me want to kick. And the fun night of games was slowly turning into a dud. But alas, the night was young, and soon we came to the pixelated title of Tetris. Specifically Tetris 2. If there was a sequel, surely it'd be better than the original, right? We booted it up and got to playing. As I saw those colourful blocks slowly fall towards the bottom of the screen, I instantly knew.
I hate this game.
The awfully manufactured NES controller with 4 buttons instead of 2 barely responded to each input, which, for a game that needs fast precision, isn't exactly the go-to choice. As the colourful Tetris blocks slowly went towards the bottom of the screen, my friend and I tried to figure out 1, where to place them, and 2, why we were playing this awful game. After our failed attempt at playing, for some unknown reason I decided to load up another game. But this time, with a handicap. We didn't know what that meant, but my masochistic relationship to video games thought, let's go to the highest level and see what it does. As it turns out, the handicap is a level of blocks that are already on the screen, and the number indicates how high up they go. At first, it was a challenge of who could survive the longest, which was not that long. Then, it became who could get rid of all the 12 handicapped levels. I should mention, by this point, I had also learnt that there was a speed level, which, of course, I pumped that bad boy up to the max. For far longer than any other game, we sat and played Tetris, dying repetitively, getting increasingly angrier with each restart. As it was time to leave, we had barely made any progress. I think the furthest either of us got was about 3 of the 12 levels down. A pathetic attempt, with little to no enjoyment from either of us, just determination. Quite some time passed between then and the next time my friend came over again. They were long and hard days. Nah, to tell you the truth, I didn't think much about it. The memories of Tetris had completely escaped my mind. So, when my friend came back over to my house and my initial thought was, let's whip out this bootleg gaming console again, I was a little shocked with myself. But I did, and before we had time to process what we were doing, Tetris 2 was back into our lives. Instantly, I put the speed to max level and cursed us with the highest handicap. The torture was instant, like a tsunami of pain hit us head on. But this time, I made an adjustment. There was a sound bar beneath the TV, which I connected my phone to and began to play music louder than I probably should have. My taste in music has always been a little weird, and at that time I was fully into Bo Burnham and Tim Minchin. Very few of my friends listened to this kind of music, and this mate of mine was no exception. But something special happened. Maybe it was the shared mental torture that we were going through, this violent thrive between both of us to slowly make progress in deleting 12 lines of cubes on a screen. But that agony, mixed with loud music, created a special space. I had never in my life been one to sing aloud. Whether around people or even by myself, it just wasn't something I ever did. But in a sort of anger-releasing defiance, I found myself screaming these lyrics at full volume. It was Bo Burnham and then Iron Maiden. Train, followed by Vance Joy, followed by Jordan Fisher's cover of You're Welcome. My frustration shaped itself into brutally loud singing. And what was better, my friend, when it was the songs he knew, joined in. Now, an important aspect to this story that I need to explain involves my relationship to this friend of mine. He had been my best friend throughout primary school. We were inseparable, so similar even our parents would get us confused. But unfortunately, we were put into different high schools. The boy I had spent nearly every day with for years was now becoming more distant each day. The very few times we saw each other was when his parents came round for dinner. These exact moments. So here I was, having never been comfortable to sing aloud before, all of a sudden singing at the top of my lungs with my old best friend. The anger and frustration, while still mind-bogglingly annoying at times, was slowly turning into a very enjoyable and overly meaningful experience for me. After about an hour or two of doing this, the night, again, was over. And, again, we made very little progress. In between that night and the next time I would see my friend, I actually was excited to get back into Tetris. And I waited. It took some time before the next catch-up. Felt a bit like the moments in between seeing my friend were becoming longer and longer. But when it did, you bet I beelined straight upstairs, phone already connected and Tetris 2 ready to go. My friend knew more of the Bo Burnham songs now, and little by little we chipped away at this stupid challenge we had given ourselves. As much as I enjoyed this experience, there is no denying how mental it is to play the same game of Tetris on repeat. As each block rapidly fell downwards, I could feel my sanity descend with it. And at the end of the night, with 1 or 2 games off from being genuinely crazy, we again made barely any progress. But, without a shadow of a doubt, I wouldn't have changed it for the world.